Has Nancy Pelosi actually worked out the math to where not only can they make an impeachment vote happen in the House, but does she have the formula to win this in the Senate? Just because you don't like someone, just because you think that they're liberal, that doesn't mean they're stupid. Nancy Pelosi at times can come across as a befuddled individual. We've pointed that out here. Sometimes she puts together words that are seemingly incoherent and a sentence structure that you walk away shaking your head saying, what did she just say? Did she really just say that? And, you know, sometimes one thing I can tell you is Donald Trump will never be president. And it's easy to look at sound bites like that and think, what an absolute bat crap crazy insano she is. But she's so insane, she is shrewdly genius. We have been saying right along that Nancy Pelosi didn't really want to impeach Donald Trump because it's a lose-lose proposition. And she especially doesn't want it to come to a vote and have it go nowhere in the Senate. That would really make her look bad. Now, the fact that she's been backed into the corner and going to have a vote on this Thursday, I have been scratching my head ever since this was announced, saying, what angle is she playing here? Because she really wanted to just kind of slow bleed the president through the entire 2020 election cycle. So what is it that she finally agreed to bring this to the House floor to make an official vote that the impeachment now officially move forward? What is the game that she's got going here? What's the scam? Because once it gets kicked to the Senate, we know there are Mitt Romneys and never-Trumpers over there. But again, there are 53 Republican votes. It would require 67 votes for the president to be impeached. That means there would have to be basically 14 Republicans voting with the Democrats. And I just don't believe the math is there. But that 2/3 majority, that becomes the sticking point. Is it really 67 of the 100? Or is there something about that 2/3 majority that is not mandatory?
Now, again, keep in mind that the number is 67. Bill, I'm going to really take you down the rabbit hole here, and this is something that's very important. 67, two-thirds is the vote. But if you have senators who are absent, keep in mind that we might not get to a trial until January, February. What happens in February? The Iowa caucuses. You have the New Hampshire primary. There's nothing written down in concrete language that senators have to be there or have to actually vote. It's a binary choice. You either vote conviction or innocence. You know, Arlen Specter in 1999 said not proven under Scottish law. That was his language, and they said you can't vote that way. If you have senators who don't show up or don't vote, that 67 number dwindles. In other words, it's an unqualified 2/3. It's 2/3 of who votes. And so that could affect the impact there. And that's something that nobody has really considered in this matrix.
So there's the game right there. There are easily a handful of Republicans in the Senate, never-Trumpers, who don't like this president, and they would vote for impeachment, i.e. Mitt Romney. Now, are there a few other Republicans over there that might be, you know, if they could do it quietly and not have their name published that they had voted for impeachment, would they? There might be. Are there some Democrats, and this is the real number you got to watch, that are in vulnerable districts up for re-election, that the only reason they agreed to go along with the inquiry to begin with was Nancy Pelosi promised them this would not come to a vote. This would not come to a vote. They'll have a tough time going back to their Trump districts as a Democrat for re-election this year and somehow make the case that they should be reelected in a Trump district after they voted for impeachment. So how does she protect them? It's just hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that this two-thirds majority doesn't have to be of all 100 senators present. The two-thirds majority is only of the majority of the senators present. Let me explain. I've been in the ministry over 28 years, and I've gone through a lot of church votes, And I can tell you specifically that there are times where a church constitution calls for a two-thirds majority vote. And sometimes it says two-thirds of the members present. And then there are certain times, usually the calling of a pastor and the removing of a pastor, that it is two-thirds of the members, the total membership. So, if you have 100 members of your church and you are going to vote to remove a pastor from office, then all 100 members have to cast a ballot. And of that, 67 have to vote for removal. That's a two-thirds majority of all the members. But if you have a little caveat, which we do for impeachment, it's only 100 members of the Senate present. So, or two-thirds of the members present. So, if only 90 senators show up and vote, they only need 60 votes to remove him. If 85 members show up to vote, it's 57 votes. If 80 members show up to vote, it's 54 members. So what she has to do is work the numbers so that the Democratic senators from Trump districts don't show up to vote that day. Don't show up to vote that day. Don't be there. And so now, as you lower the total number of senators voting, now the Republicans do. They have 53 votes in the Senate. But say 20 Democrats don't show up and they've lowered now only 80 people there voting. Now only 54 votes are needed to remove him. Start seeing how this works. So certain Republicans who would maybe vote if they could be, anonymous for impeachment, now they join a handful of Democrats and just don't show up. Lower the number of voting senators and then make sure that the two-thirds works in your favor. Nancy is crafty, she's conniving, she's manipulative, and she can talk all she wants to about prayer, but I will say this the day before Halloween, Ouija boards and corn stellars, that's more in line with how she sees and predicts the future. I mean, she is just absolutely evil. Don't mistake her doddering and her bat crap crazy routine that somehow she doesn't understand how to play the political game in Washington. She's been there how many years? She's pulled off how many little stunts? We need to keep an eye on this. And Mitch McConnell and the Republicans in the Senate need to make sure that they hold the line. And this is where the Republicans in the Senate need to really keep the pressure on one another. Do not vote to impeach. Well, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a big like. Share this video to your social media platforms. Tell your friends about it. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel and smack the bell for my next rant.